Welcome to The Current Buzz, the podcast where we break down what's happening now at Oklahoma Electric Cooperative and OEC Fiber and why it matters to you.
Each episode, we're bringing you practical insights, behind-the-scenes conversations, and real-world answers to the questions our members and subscribers are asking. Thanks for tuning in. Let's jump into today's conversation. Welcome to episode 59 of The Current Buzz. I'm Brianna.
And I'm Daniel, and today we actually have one of our own, Tim Free. He's our Key Accounts and Advocacy Specialist. We also have the principal of Vestas Strategic Solutions, Kyla McNabb. Thank you all for being here. And they are actually going to talk to us about a hot topic in today's world, data centers.
Yes, but before we get started, we always kick off the episode with the top 3 things you need to know. And the first thing is we have a really great fiber internet product. So if you have not heard about it, we encourage you to check it out. But we are actually really proud of the transparent pricing of OEC Fiber. So when you sign up, your bill is exactly what you agreed to. There's never any hidden fees or surprise charges, unexpected price increases. If you choose the OEC Fiber Gig package, for example, your monthly bill is $85 flat every month, never an increase. It's been that way since the beginning. Simple, straightforward. So check them out at oecfiber.com.
We are also proud to continue offering rebates for our members who want to make efficiency upgrades to their house. So whether you install a programmable thermostat, maybe a level 2 EV charger, or upgrade your HVAC equipment, you may qualify for a rebate. So go to our website at www.okcoop.org/rebates and see if you qualify.
And last but not least, did you know that you can change your electric rate? You probably did. Everyone in this room probably did. But we have 3 different residential electric rates, and each one of them are perfect for different members. So if you are not satisfied with the rate you are on, check them out, okcoop.org/rates.
All right, I want to welcome to the show, Tim and Kyla. Thank you all for being here. I want to start this off with a little of what you do on a daily basis. What's your day-to-day? Kyla, we'll start with you.
My day-to-day is taking care of my various clients. So they range from working on utility policy within the Southwest Power Pool, which is an organization that people are hearing a lot more about, the regional transmission organization, as well as following energy policy items for the state of Oklahoma.
Awesome. Tim?
So my day-to-day is like many cooperative employees where you wear many hats. I can run rate comparisons for our commercial members or, look into contracts for any sort of new development that's coming, such as these data centers that we have, to follow in our legislative issues or just many things.
Ordering promotional items.
Yeah.
And you're also involved in the community. You just got here from a Tuttle Chamber luncheon too. So just, again, all the co-op people, we wear a lot of hats. So Tim's always busy.
We do. Kyla works with a lot of co-op people, so I'm sure you're aware of that too.
I do, and I love it. I mean, I'm also a proud OEC member, so it's always fun seeing everyone out. OEC fantastically sponsored my son's tennis tournament last year, so just another example of how fantastic you guys are out in the communities.
Well, thank you. Okay, we're just going to dive right into some questions. Again, today's episode is really taking a closer look from the experts at the hot topic of data centers. We've heard a lot about it. They're in Oklahoma. They're coming to Oklahoma. But we want to start pretty basic. So what exactly, whenever someone says data center, what does that mean? Kyla, you want to take that one?
Yeah. So when people say data center, it can encompass a couple different definitions. But at the very basic element, it's going to be a building full of computers is about the best way I can describe it. Those computers can do any number of different support functions. Primarily, we're seeing for AI, people using ChatGPT, the Microsoft Copilots, what we're starting to see integrated into our everyday lives. So it's basically a building full of computers that's supporting those efforts. And I think where you're starting to see it really come up in question is, as you can imagine, computers take energy, and that's where a lot of questions are starting to happen.
So tell me, why would they be popping up in Oklahoma? Why is this new a hot button here, and why are they coming to Oklahoma?
Well, I know what I've seen is that the primary reason we see a lot of businesses come to Oklahoma, which is that we have some of the lowest utility rates in the nation. It's a fantastic place to do business at, and it's no different when they're taking a look at that. They want to be able to have low-cost, good electricity, access to good electricity, stable grid, and just the cost of doing business being low.
To add on to that, like she said, we have low cost energy, but we also have a very natural abundance of natural gas. So last year, our legislature actually passed a Behind the Meter Act where, data centers or anyone could come in and supply energy to themselves. So having that natural gas available just allows them to, one, either feed their building or have a redundancy where if something were to happen, there was an outage, that they would have energy going 24/7.
Didn't know that.
I didn't either.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk. You hear the real technical experts, people like my brother that work in the industry, talk about having 4 nines power. A lot of times you might hear that pop up. Basically, they just need very stable power. And as Tim mentioned, Oklahoma's taking the steps to make sure we've got the ability to be able to provide that for them.
So for context, a home uses roughly how many kilowatt hours of usage?
40 to 60 a day.
A day. What is that number for a data center, you think, on average?
That's a good
Would it be
question. That's
in
a
the
curveball question.
Thousands?
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
So we're
in the
talking just
thousands,
for
millions.
context. I mean, we can all
Yeah.
pretty much, I think, envision what our homes use, but a data center is so much more.
And
Yes.
from what I've seen, some of these data centers, so we're talking KW for a house, right? These data centers are talking megawatts.
Megawatts.
So
Okay.
1 to 20 to 100 megawatts. So the math on that, it's thousands of homes of energy.
Right. So that's how much power we're talking about here, not just
it could be
a
for
group
one.
of homes or
Yeah,
apartment
and that's
complexes.
where, like I said, if you just want a visualization of it, I'm a visual person. Imagine a Walmart building where just your open air building, but instead of groceries being on the racks, it's all computers lined up one after another. So you can just imagine how all that adds up real quickly.
Yeah.
And they take cooling because they don't want to be running too hot. So there's air conditioning. There's probably water, liquid being passed through to cool. It's a lot.
And a valid concern, I think, for members, but go ahead.
It's funny that you mentioned the Walmart. So that's actually what I use for my visual all the time is when I try to explain a megawatt. A typical Walmart is about 500 kW. So 1,000 kW is a megawatt. So if you imagine 2 Walmarts, that's 1 megawatt. So that kind of helps people a little bit when they hear we have a 5 megawatt data center that's coming in. So just imagine that 5 megawatt, that'd be 10 Walmarts,
Wow.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
but much less space.
much less space, much more compact.
So, Tim, this one's for you. So, will serving data centers raise rates for OEC members?
As of right now, no, they will not. So if someone comes in, data center or any industry comes in and they're requesting a lot of power, we treat them pretty much all the same. And if they need dedicated infrastructure, then that person would be paying for that. And, we have that right now where we have people that, need 3-phase or a substation or something like that that's dedicated to them, and they pay for that infrastructure. It's not something that we put off onto the membership. If they're not benefiting from that, then why should they have to pay for that?
Awesome.
Yeah, this OEC member greatly appreciates that.
Yeah, same. OEC member.
Yeah. I mean, I know there's been questions. We at a district meeting this past fall, there was some discussion around it. I think people are just unclear about how it's really going to work. And, the electric company's saying one thing, but are, we really trustworthy? And I mean, like you said, Tim, that's how we've done it for a very long time now.
It's human nature. If you don't know something, you fear it. And we've seen this time and time again when we've gone from horses to cars. We had issues with building the infrastructure for roads, and then we've seen it again with the railroads. And it's just a new challenge in our generation.
And it's something that you're hearing across the country as well. I think as we're finding the more connected through media that people are, they're going to hear things from other parts of the country and other utilities that may take a philosophy that's different than what OEC takes. And so it's really good that you're getting those questions, I think, so that, we can set the record straight. And as Tim's doing here, to just say, nope, that's not OEC. That's not how it operates here in Oklahoma.
Tim, I've got a question for you because you and I have talked about before how data centers, and really not only data centers, but large loads of this kind that use a stable amount of energy is good for the grid. It's good for rate stability. Can you explain that a little bit?
So something like a data center, they are running 24/7. It is a very constant load, And they are also on what's called an interruptible rate. So whenever we are experiencing a peak for our system, we would send out a notification to one of these accounts, and they would have to actually shut down or run off of their generators, which is why that natural gas redundancy is very important to them. So they can shut down that load during that time and reduce our overall peak, which is where the majority of our billing comes from, is what our load is like during those peak hours. So if we're able to curve that a little bit, then we're able to save everyone on their electric bills.
And can you explain, just if there's anyone listening who's kind of confused, doesn't know what peak hours means, can you explain that?
So as far as how we are billed on our wholesale rates, we have a couple of different peak hours. Each month, we're told at the end of the month, what day experienced a peak for the entire system, and that's everyone that Western Farmers serves. Who, Western Farmers is our G&T who we purchase electricity from, and they will tell us what day experienced a peak for every co-op that they serve, and then that averages out for every single month of the year. And then there's also a summer peak. So anywhere from June 20th to September 9th is they can call a peak day anytime during the summer. And at all the days that they call, the 3 hours that experienced a peak would average out. And we bill that. So it's very complex billing, really.
Sounds like it.
But if you can flatten out those peak, how much we're using during those peak hours, and you got to think about these peak hours that I'm talking about in the summer. These are August. It's 105 outside. It's 5 o'clock when everyone just got home from work and they're kicking on the ACs and turning on their TV. So we're trying to bring that peak down. So when everyone else is using power and we're reaching out to these data centers or cryptocurrency miners and having them on an interruptible service where they have to shut down and reduce that peak a little bit.
Do they? What happens if they don't?
They are penalized very, very heavily.
Yeah, part of their billing determinant is what peak they hit at that time. So they incentivize us, or we incentivize them to get off of it to save them the money. If they have to operate at that time, that their rate says you're going to pay for it. Yeah, basically.
Yep. And that's really big in the cryptocurrency. They have their software built in to see is it advantageous for them to continue running.
Got a question for you, Kyla. Are there legislative efforts to modernize and strengthen the grid to handle the increased demand of these data centers?
Well, I think Tim brought up the very first step that Oklahoma took and was really wonderful and kind of had really good foresight last year to enable this behind-the-meter legislation. There was already language in our Oklahoma statutes noting that you can do your own generation, say behind the meter, so kind of more towards your side of things and my side of things. But it was unclear as to what large businesses could do because, of course, there are rules in place that I shouldn't necessarily become a utility at my house, no matter how big, and a cryptocurrency or a data center should not become a utility provider. They shouldn't be the ones selling electricity to people. So there were some clarifications that were put in place there so that it's, hey, we can bring our own if we just utilize our own electricity, utilize the natural gas or other resources for those electrons, that can be done, purely done. And I think that's what you're going to see a furthering of this legislative session as well. Again, just making sure that the rules that are in place, number one, are clear and not ambiguous because businesses do not like unclear language. It makes it difficult for them to invest. And seeing what else can be done to ensure that the large loads, again, take on this investment and so that you and I as individual ratepayers do not have to pay that. And
what should everyday Oklahomans kind of pay attention to as these policies progress?
I'm a fan of continuing to ask questions, like hearing, and maybe it's just the former teacher in me that I was always told when you give a presentation, if you didn't get any questions, you didn't give a good enough presentation. So it actually encourages me that the OEC members are asking questions. It's understanding things and hosting podcasts like this so that folks have that information at hand. So if members can just make sure to educate themselves from good, trustworthy sources, that way they can better understand how the electricity management works and where those costs actually do come from.
How are co-ops like OEC involved when large data centers want to locate in Oklahoma? Like, what is our role in and getting them here? What do we do on that front?
Oh, Tim's the one on that. That's it. That's exactly what he does. Get these places to come in.
So for a long time, energy growth has been very stagnant pretty much across the country. But when it comes to crypto and data centers, that is not something that you really need any sort of economic development coalition to come looking for them, because they will find you. They have teams and third-party companies that reach out, and they're looking for these little pockets of capacity everywhere to see where they can put in a data center.
Wow.
So really, the only part we're involved in is when they contact us, and we're trying to tell them where we do have capacity, basically. So we're not helping them find land or find good spots or good neighbors. We are just telling them where we have capacity and what we have available.
See, I think that also is just being good stewards of our members' money, right? We're not telling them to build in a spot that, well, now we'd have to upgrade line and upgrade substation. We're going, hey, go here because we don't have a lot of density as far as volume. So this is probably the best. And I like that we're being that responsible. That's good.
No, I absolutely agree. And it makes the most sense for all overall anyway. I mean, especially if you have already existing infrastructure there, take advantage of it. It helps them in the long run. It keeps their costs low. And then again, utilizes infrastructure you've already invested in.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but they don't really care where they're at.
Exactly.
No,
Right?
they just want electrons.
They don't need to be 10 miles from Norman. It really doesn't matter to them.
No,
So good power
yeah.
and place.
Distance from wherever electrons are going to flow, whether it is 5 miles for my computer to run ChatGPT or 200, it really doesn't matter. They're still going to flow.
As long as they can have access to electricity, natural gas, and then at least water there in the beginning. Because, that's one thing we've heard a lot is that they use up a lot of water. And the way I kind of relate it, and again, I'm not the data center expert, but from what I understand is it's kind of like whenever you get a swimming pool. You use a lot of water at once, and then that's pretty much it from there on. Now, the way technology is, a lot of them are basically recycling that water.
That's good to know, because I actually have heard that scare is, oh man, they're going to use up a lot of these water resources around us, but it's like a closed loop system, so they're going to just recycle it, filter it.
Exactly.
That's good to know.
Well, and I'm super curious. Anytime data centers come up, I can't help but put this out there. And Daniel, this might speak to your heart. I'd love to start seeing them use ground source heat pumps.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, there is no greater application of that technology than for a data center kind of large load usage. You talk about building that in. It's a natural kind of efficiency that happens that we have here in Oklahoma. I can't imagine why you would not consider that top of mind when building it.
Already cycling water, and that's essentially what you're doing in ground source. You're pumping that water back into the earth, which regulates the temperature, and you bring that back through. So it's literally a natural adaptation. Yeah, that's a good point.
And then,
for any of you data center people out there, you might check into this.
Check into it. We can, but I would just love to see that done, because again, it just naturally reduces the amount of kilowatt hours you use to start with in general, and it's a great technology in Oklahoma.
I do have a question. So you'd mentioned in the beginning you work with the SPP or to some degree. And we all may remember 2021, Winter Storm Uri. And since then, I feel like the education level of just the general population has really increased on the electric grid, or at least the perception of what the grid is, what it means. And one of the fears that I've heard is if you get too many data centers in a close location, it's going to, the grid reliability is no longer there. Is that true? How can you speak to that? Should there be fear around there's not going to be enough electricity to serve everyone else if data centers are around?
No need for a fear with that. That's exactly why being part of the Southwest Power Pool, so this regional transmission grid organization. So rather than Oklahoma being an island in and of itself and only worrying about our own power, being part of the Southwest Power Pool, which, like you said, not many people heard about until Winter Storm Uri in 2021, we share electricity resources with folks from here in Oklahoma all the way up to North Dakota. So as part of that, when a large load comes online and when a large load is interested, part of that process is going to be working with the Southwest Power Pool. It's where OEC, Western Farmers, everyone kind of partners in together to say, this is where we want to locate. How do things look in that area? Do we have resource availability? Is there enough electrons? Is there enough transmission wires there? And Southwest Power Pool, again, will say, well, you might need a little bit more transmission service there. And so maybe there's a different location they can look at, or then at that point, transmission upgrades are needed, which then, as Tim spoke to, then goes to the responsibility of that large load. So it's really a fantastic partnership. I mean, Southwest Power Pool kind of describes himself like an air traffic controller in a way, just making sure one area doesn't get overly full so that everyone can benefit. And they are well aware. It is a topic that is being talked about left and right. What to do as these large loads come online? What does that mean? What do they need to adjust as far as their policies? Because in particular, Oklahoma is one of the national target areas that they've seen. Again, so it's not like it's unknown that people are looking to come here.
Well, and probably learning a lot just looking at the East Coast, right?
Yes.
Isn't Virginia a hotbed of data centers? So probably, hopefully, learned a lot from them.
Which I had no idea there was such a hotbed of centers. But then again, you think close proximity to Washington, D.C., then that does make a lot more sense. But, Oklahoma and Texas, again, it's just we've got good electricity rates. We've got abundance of natural resources and a variety of resources that they can pull from, and transmission and a grid manager that can make sure that the lights stay on.
So to kind of go on to that, one thing about West Virginia that had that is they had to build out a fiber very quickly. So that also is another benefit where data centers hit them, and now they're coming to OEC as we have our fiber build out. And also to talk about the grid, to keep that fear out of people's minds. One, when someone comes in, it's not, okay, we're going to sign this contract and we're ready to go. We have some of the most amazing engineers that are doing our own feasibility study to see if we can even handle this capacity. And then if it's a large load, it's going to Western farmers. They're also doing studies, and then it has to go to SPP as well. So it's going through several rounds of very technical and brilliant engineers that are studying all of this. And then let's say we do get, several in one spot, and some of them are generating their own power. I think there's an opportunity in the future where there's legislation where, they become partners. Maybe we're buying electricity from them. That's generation that we don't have to build, which is a lot cheaper for our members in the future. It's just like, someone over generating their solar and selling it back to OEC. That it would be the same thing if they're over generating or we're hitting a peak. Maybe we can use some of their natural gas generation or whatever it is that they're doing.
Yeah, so we can all just kind of learn and adapt as this comes, right? We don't know what we don't know, so we'll just have to live it and see what comes of it, but nothing to be scared of.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's an evolution of what happens. And again, all based on these evolutions happen based through historical practice.
Right.
Yeah, I love it. Any other questions for the experts in the room here?
They know way more about it than I do, so if they got anything they want to add, you can feel free to add it.
If we've not touched on something that you think is important, maybe we nailed it with our questions.
That's what it is. See, we just had a good line.
You did. And again, it's kind of understanding what the data center is. Again, it's like, what is these data center? What do they mean? And I think the other thing to understand is these things do not happen overnight. Yes, they can happen rather quickly. Like a warehouse being built. But at the same time, this is not like 100 Walmarts are going to be built within a year.
Right.
So, and I know a lot of times the news can make it seem like that this is going to come up overnight. And that's what leads to a fear that the grid's going to go down and that I'm going to lose power at my house because of it. But that is not what's going to happen whatsoever. And as Tim wonderfully mentioned, the layers of review and checks that happen, all that is taking place over months and years to ensure that everyone's lights stay on.
Which is great to know because I was not fully aware of that process. So that is comforting.
I think it's pretty nice, too, that, the whole data center, whatever type of data center it is, I believe personally that it's going to be revolutionary for our generation. Like I mentioned earlier, where we've seen change with cars, railroads, flight. Everything that's changed over the years, I believe data centers will be that change in our generation or our kids' generations. So it's nice that it's our country and our state and our co-op that's really controlling a lot of that. So it's nice that it's here and there's not another country or someone else that's going to have this future growth.
Got it. Well, we'll learn as we go, as we've talked about. So if we need to have another one on data centers in a year, we'll have another one on data centers in a year.
I will take this moment to say that Tim here wrote a great article in our February Co-op News magazine. So OEC members, check that out. If you haven't already, you should have it in your mailbox by this point. But February, it's the feature story. You can't miss it. Check it out. But we touch on these topics and a few more. So.
I also want to talk about our Dan, How Do I series that launched last month. So just a little quick video of me showing you cheap and easy ways to save money on an electric bill, whether that's change the direction of your fan from winter to summer to how to change an air filter. Little things that just kind of empower you to see how easy some of these things are. And maybe they can save you a few dollars. And you're going to be able to find those on our social media channels and our YouTube page.
And I do want to mention one more thing. So on each episode, we mention a community event or organization that we support. We serve 7 counties, fiber and electricity, and we are strong supporters of each one of those communities. And we always highlight an event that's coming up. And this month, February 24th, our friends at the Moore Norman Technology Center Foundation are holding a fundraising lunch. And this is actually really cool because it raises money for really practical things for students who may need gas to drive to the campus for classes, for food, emergency scholarships, different things like that. So that way they can continue advancing in their careers despite any setbacks they may have. So if you're interested in that, check out Moore Norman Technology Center Foundation, their fundraiser lunch on February 24th.
Awesome. Thank you all for joining us on today's episode. Catch us again March 3rd, where we talk with the VP of Operations and Manager of Maintenance on all things how we prepare for catastrophic storms or major events. So that'll be really good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.